All right. It's Secure Digital Life. Hi, Katie. So we're here. We survived AnyCon today by special request of some of our many viewers who wrote in. We're going to do the pen test certificate shootout and talk about 4 certificates in pen testing because a lot of people asked. So stay tuned.
This is a Security Weekly production.
Welcome to Secure Digital Life. And you type in AAA porn or whatever it is you're typing in. I'm sorry. I was at a PG show.
And I'm really excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here because somebody needs to know what's going on.
That's right.
Okay, so now
somebody has to drink this.
I think it's another day. It's another episode.
Yeah, he's looking at the wrong camera.
You put my camera over here. Cut. Basically, forget you ever saw that. I think actually forgetting you ever saw that would really be a good idea at this point. AnyCon! No, it's over. You missed it. Sorry, you're sad. You're crying at home. So it's just like, all that good stuff. It was last weekend. There was lots and lots of people. Thanks, AnyCon guys. It was lots of fun. We did Hacker Movie Trivia. We gave away a whole bunch of glassware. We gave away all of our shirts, except all the XX small.
There was some guy there that kicked your butt at Hacker Trivia.
There was, yeah. There was a guy that knew the answer to everything, including Angelina Jolie's shoe size.
And eye color.
Yeah, eye color. I actually asked for the diameter of her nostrils, and he was like, I'm there! And I was like, okay.
As long as it was just the nostrils.
Yeah, well, we didn't go any further than that. But it was a success. Everybody had a good time. We only left a few people behind in the alley that will never be seen again and are now like having a different experience with their life. Coming up, Black Hat. DEF CON, all those are coming up in July, and Paul and company are going to be there with the Security Weekly booth, where you can get all kinds of trouble if you want to.
There's a Wild West one coming soon?
We're going to do that one next. And then in October, so it's coming up soon after that in October, is Wild West Hackathon. Wild West Hackathon in Deadwood, South Dakota, where... Hackin' Fest.
That's my fault.
I'm sorry. I'm fired. That's it.
My fault.
It's like they're not going to invite me now. Well, they didn't invite me anyway, so I can call them whatever I want. Call them the Hackathon. I don't care. But no, the Wild West Hackin' Fest in Deadwood is in October. You should plan to go to that. It's like a chance to go to South Dakota, which I'm not sure exactly what that's like. But have you ever been to South Dakota, Russ?
I have not, but I know that. I mean, isn't that where Deadwood is some sort of claim to fame? I don't even know.
I have no idea.
When I was looking at the website, they had said something about
there used to be an HBO show called Deadwood.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The linkage between.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, well maybe that was what was there. I don't know. I've never been to Deadwood. I've never even been to the state of South Dakota, which I've been to almost every state, but I've never been to that one. So maybe, who knows, this fall. You know who you are out there, guys. It's up to you to invite us and pay our way and buy us drinks and all those good things.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah, so today we're going to talk about some pen testing certifications because a lot of people had written in and asked about, we did a show on certs not too long about whether they're worthwhile or what you should get and all this kind of stuff. So I wanted to be a little more specific and talk about some actual pen test certifications.
Cool.
Have you ever considered being pen tested?
Being pen tested? No, but I did try to penetrate Area 51, and we got chased by a vehicle with a machine gun on it, and then pulled over. My friend Bob, as you know, but you know Bob, and we were nervous and scared, and so but.
Then there was the probes and
the probes came and so on and so forth.
But it gets a little we won't show the video of that.
No.
We've got clips of it, but it's just really grim.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want to talk about 4 certs then today. We're going to talk about OSCP, CEH, GPen, and CPT. There are other ones. One thing there's plenty of in the world is penetration certs, and they're all kind of different. And we want to talk a little bit about why they exist and maybe what you should do. I'm not sure I have a lot of good advice on what to do, but I have some advice on how to make that decision. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Cool. The first one I'm going to talk about is OSCP. And this one has been around for a while, but it's not, to me anyway, it's not as well known. I had several people walk up to me and say, what do you think about OSCP? And I was kind of like, well, they can cure that now if you get the shots. But
can they?
Yeah. But no, I mean, and so I started reading up on it. And one of the things about OSCP that's very interesting is Their server was down when I was trying to go to their website yesterday, so they were having some kind of problem. But apparently the cert started in 2006, and I'm like, why haven't I seen more about this cert? But this is like an actual pen test that you have to do. So this is unlike most certs, which involve, taking fill in the bubbles with your number 2 pencil. This cert actually has a practical examination.
Awesome.
So it's kind of like the CCE forensic certification, which was always popular because of that. And we like to take credit for that because I've been involved with that cert since really, really way back. And John wanted to have an actual practical component that they sent home with you, and you have to do it and all this kind of stuff. But this one is the same thing. So it's really focused on Kali Linux, which is a cool thing. And you can, if you want to get Kali Linux, you can go right online right now, and you can download Kali Linux, and you can fool around with it. But this thing actually then asks you, so the OSCP actually asks you to jump in and hack 3 things. So I went and looked at what the requirements were on that, and they actually ask you to hack 3 things. I don't know if they're sequential, so feel free if you do know this or whatever you feel like you can say, you can send it into us online. And if you have questions as we go, feel free to dump them in.
Yeah, I'm monitoring Facebook
Russ
right now.
Russ is back,
Real time.
and he's monitoring Facebook. He didn't get lost in Budapest or anything like that, or get, I don't even know.
Or Albany.
Yeah, or Albany or any of those good places. So he's recovered. You have 24 hours to do the hack. So they made a big deal on their website about, can you take it? It was kind of like this. And I can see that. So if you give somebody an exam and you say, once you start, you only have 24 hours. I mean, that could get ugly.
Yeah.
And so you definitely need to be thinking about that as you do that. They said they required a lot of documentation of what you did and how you did it. I don't know how that's collected. So I'm sure that if you're taking the training class for OSCP, you could see that. You don't have to recert, which that's one of those pieces of it I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like anything that says, I don't want to recert either. So, out there, I would really rather not. Cisco, you know who you are. But Cisco keeps sending me those letters going, you got to renew your certification. I'm like, oh, no, not again.
Every 5 years.
But it's actually every 3 years.
Every 3 years.
Some certs are every 2 years. CCE is every 2 years. But this one doesn't require recertification, which worries me a bit because it's like, okay, so 5 years from now, 7 years from now, you're still like legit, and maybe... that kind of thing bothers me a little bit in terms of validation of your cert. I mean, just to be totally above board here. I didn't think it looked like something beginners would want to do. So a couple of people who had written me about this were basically saying, I want to get into pen testing. I'm not so sure about that. I will tell you that you can study up, that you can prep, and you can get ready to take just about anything, because that's how I got my neurosurgery license. It was just like a 1-week boot camp. They tossed a couple of mouses on the table, mice. They tossed a couple of mice. You got a scalpel. You go at it. I only screwed up the one time when I was using the flamethrower torch, and I was like, I'm going to cauterize, and then they're like, oh, the patient died, and I'm like, oh, well, I'll do something.
You did the simulator. Oh, no, that was cool.
They have,
Yeah, I know. I've seen it.
But this particular cert, not to run the cert down, I like the idea of the cert a whole lot. I really did. I like the idea of this. You're actually doing it. So you're doing the role of pen testing. So I think that part I'm sold on. It reminded me a whole lot. There used to be an old website called Hackers Lab. Yep. And on Hackers Lab, you logged in and you tried to take over. So there were all these exercises you had to complete, and each one was sequential. So you had to do the first one, then you get the second one, and so on. It was a blast. I used to do it all the time. I used to have students do it. It was really fun. It got taken out finally, and they just couldn't afford to run it anymore. There's one called Third Pig that used to be around, which was like a capture the flag, open source stuff. So this was a lot more in line with what I think certs really should be. Yep. It's like, can you do the job? Yeah. And I do like that. So, but it also, in that regard, to me, doesn't seem like a great cert for people that are just rank beginners that have never done any kind of work with this. It did require that you do take some kind of training, though. And most of these certs, if you want to self-study, they will let you. So you can say, I studied myself. And they're going to punish you if you lie, because you're basically going to drop a bunch of money to them, and then they're going to take your money and say, well, you failed. Have a nice day. Please come back next time. But I went and I looked through a lot of job listings. So I went and I sat down and I pulled up monster.com and I looked for job listings. This is completely spurious. So I didn't use any kind of scientific methodology, like I put each one in 5 different categories and I cross-referenced them, and then we did some basic statistics to predict. No, we didn't do any of that fun stuff. I just looked at it. So I eyeballed it. And I found a couple of positions that said this was highly prized, was one of them, actually used that lingo. But I did not find a single job that required it. And like I said, that's totally spurious, so don't panic. Company, don't panic. I'm not saying it's not worth anything. I'm just saying I did not find a job that said you must have OSCP to apply for this job. Many jobs said desired or one of the above is required, and it was included in all those lists, but none of them did that.
So 2 questions. One is, what is the certifying body called? Like, is it CompTIA or whatever? And what is the cost?
I'm going to do the cost in just a minute.
Great,
so I've got another slide, so I will do that. I don't remember the. I don't remember the.
I can Google it real quick. And find out.
I don't remember the name of the certifying body. I thought I knew most of these, but I don't remember what that one was.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's cool. I should have put that on the screen up there, but I didn't actually do that. The next one, though, we'll get that. The cost money's coming up in just a minute. The next one is a CEH, and the CEH to me is probably the best known of these, and I've heard more about it. It's from EC Council, so that is the company that does this, and this one is a multiple chance exam. And that always kind of diminishes things in my mind a lot of times, because there are people I'm one of them. There are people I've known that do very, very well on multiple chance tests. They're just really able to read fast, so reading skill, and they're good at answering questions and guessing answers when they don't know. But this is the standard. I mean, it's certainly the industry standard to use these ExamView, basically multiple choice tests that people use. It's 125 questions, and you have 4 hours to do that. So basically, you can buy a book, and you can study up for the CEH. And that's a very common approach to that. I've seen a lot of people doing self-study for the CEH. One thing about the CEH that's different is it requires 2 years of some kind of information security experience. So again, it's not really for beginners. So if you're trying to break into the field, none of these certs may be the real thing you want, but OSCP may be accessible to you anyway. Yeah. So if you really got a lot of hands-on skills, you're really into this stuff, you really do a lot of this stuff, even if you don't have the work experience, you know, get Kali Linux and practice up. CEH, you're going to have to turn in and be reviewed for some, you know, for that 2 years of experience. They seem to be pretty, you know, not extremely strict on how that's defined. Like, I'm sure I could take it. I'm sure you could take it. But it does have to be 2 years of experience that you come up with somehow. Yeah. So like the CISSP and some of those types of certs. The exam is $700. So it's definitely something you're going to have to shell out for. And that also just reiterates, if you just... I've got that on my follow-up slide. We'll do it at the end.
Scott suggests online on Facebook right now that CEH is a very good exam for entry level.
Okay, so if they will let you take it, but read carefully what their requirements are. So Scott online told us that it's a good exam for entry level. I think all these are good for entry level if you can get through them. I mean, they're all going to add to your resume. Any of these certs are going to be a good thing to have in your backpack if you're wanting to get into the pen testing field, because it validates that you know something about the field. GPIN. Now, we always love SANS, and this is from SANS.org. So if you're interested in any of these are called GIAC or GIAC certifications, and SANS is this whole long series of. They're a sponsor of some of our shows. Just full disclosure, I really like their classes. A lot. I've audited 2 of their classes for content, and I've sat in on a couple of their classes as well as a student. I've always found it to be awesome. The GPEN exam is 115 questions in 3 hours, and you do have to renew it every 4 years. So it is a recert. It is another multiple chance test. I would guess it's hard. I have not taken this class, nor have I taken this test. SANS should invite us to sit in on their classes for free so we can review them favorably on this show. Mm-hmm. If you're out there listening, SANS, they're not. Oh, actually, SANS is always watching from somewhere. They have cameras in the building just to make sure we don't say anything bad. I'm kidding, SANS. Please don't send the guys to
Don't send hate mail.
I don't want to go back to the lab. That one is $1,699 to take the test. So So as with a lot of stuff, SANS, it's very expensive. Their classes cost a lot of money because they're really good. I mean, but they're very, very expensive, like $5,000 a week.
Yeah, and they have a class that you can couple that with.
Right.
It was around $5,000.
And all of these certs have classes that are offered both by them.
Yep.
So the certifying body has classes that they do, like SANS offers the GX, GPIN course. EC Council offers courses from EC Council, and then there's often third parties who offer courses in some of these. I don't think the SANS does that. I don't think they allow third parties to teach SANS material, but some others do. So some certs, I don't know if any of these allow third parties to teach the material. I don't think OSPC does, because I don't see how they could do that if they're going to release that. But they may let people teach you though, and then you just go sign up for the class.
Yeah.
I used to work for Intense School, and that was what they did. So we just taught third party, and we gave you a voucher, and you went and took the test. The last one on our list is CPT, and this is from a company called IACRB. I'll be honest with you, I had never heard of this one. It's a certified pen tester. I had never heard of it. I was looking for some to put on the show, and this was one that I found, and I went, wow, I guess this has been there. It's obviously known. I'm not an expert on pen testing certification, so I used to do pen tests, but this was sort of before this became an industry. I was doing it when nobody knew what to call it, and we just call it like testing. This one has a two-part exam. So it's like the CCE exam. It has 50 questions that you do over 2 hours, and then you actually have a take-home practical that has 3 challenges. So you have to break through these 3 levels of the machine and report on how you did it and capture these keys or something like that. I was looking at the sort of study guide material for it. It's $4.99 to take that exam. So if we've really seen the prices sort of go, they're all over the place up, into that $16.99 and down into this is probably the cheapest one, $500. So that's 4 different certs for pen testing. All these are at least conceptually entry-level certifications. None of these are considered advanced, deep dive security certifications. So theoretically, anyway, if you have a tech background. So I think my experience with pen testing stuff, if you have that underpinning, so you understand networking, you understand programming and all this, you don't have to be experts at it, but if you've had that kind of thing, you may be able to get into these. I would call this an advanced topic beyond basic skills. So, whereas CCNA, networking, or C programming, or Java programming, or Python programming, or whatever, those are, I would call those baseline skills. These are starting to add pieces on above that to do a more sophisticated job, because pen test is now, I understand all this. Now I'm going to break into it. So that's definitely a move upstairs. What do you have any?
No, Scott had just also posted in the Facebook here also to remember that the degree gets the degree gets you the job and the certs get you the additional money. So
I completely
and I like what he's saying about that, because it's an and both kind of thing. It's not an either or. So
no, I completely agree. I agree with Scott very much that the degree gets you the job. I will tell you this, just from looking, and we get this question a lot. I got this question in Albany several times. Do you need a college degree? And it's not because I work for a university, but I will tell you that if you go look on monster.com, look at what the jobs require. All of them say these certs are desired. So down at the bottom, they say desired. Some of them said required at least one of these, and they had a whole pile of pen testing certs listed. All of them required bachelor's degrees in related fields. So computer science, cybersecurity, networking, network engineering, computer engineering, something like that. So I think what Scott said is 100% spot on, that the degree will get you the job. The certs bring you extra money when you go for the job. And one other thing I'm going to add to what Scott says, the certs also make you more favorable. So they if there's a needle pointing to Russ and I, and we're both sitting here and we both have degrees and we both have certs, I have 4 certs and he has 1. That may be that one little tipping point that they say, Russ has the better personality, but Doug's got the certs. And it may be that one little thing that sets you apart. So anytime you're trying to get into fields like this, especially if your background is not, 100%, a cert is going to bring that skill set to the table. It's going to say, yeah, and I've got this. I will tell you though, a lot of certs are vastly overrated. By employers, not by anybody else. You'll see managers and HR people get obsessed with certain things over time. It's usually good marketing on the part of some organization there where they say, oh, you must have this, you must have this. You go, well, I have this much more difficult cert. Because I saw one once where they said you had to have a CCNA. And the student said, well, I have a CCNA, applied for the job, and they sent it, or he said, I have a CCIE, or it was a CCNP or something, it was a more advanced cert. And they rejected his app because they were like, you don't have a CCNA. And he was like, I have the more advanced cert, and they didn't know what it was. And it was just some HR person going, detective back split, that kind of thing. So be careful about that. But yeah, so as we start talking about validating these or valuing them, that's really what you have to think about a little bit as you start getting into the job market. So look at monster.com or dice.com or your favorite employment site and see what the jobs you want require.
And all those,
whatever they are.
Yeah.
See what they require and what's desired. And the more of those things you have, the more likely you are to get considered for the job. All these things have training course types, and there's really actually three types of courses that are out there right now. There are online streamed, which is very popular at this time because it's so much cheaper. I mean, if you go and look at like the course I used to teach in Miami, it was about $5,000 for a week. Wow. But I mean, to spend a week with me, I mean, you'd pay $10,000. People were throwing. It was like people saying, "Make it rain." Because
I had to take you to Germany to get a week of your time.
I know. It was like he had to pay the whole bill and everything, and it was just like just so he could bask in my glow.
In the glow of your presence.
I'm gonna shift my. Blue
and I have the better personality. No, look at him.
See,
he's got the better.
My powers. I'm overwhelming. Okay, but so online streamed. That one's a tough one because some people don't have an environment that's good for that. If you live in an apartment with 4 people and a dog and a cat and a canary and a parakeet and
who has the fish?
Yeah, and they're redoing the roads outside, that may not be a great environment for you. No. On the other hand, I can sit in my super comfortable lab at home with my giant screen acreage, and I can watch the class. I've got great sound quality. There's nobody to bother me. I got a super comfortable chair, and as opposed to sitting in some cramped, crowded, hot room. The last time I took a cert class seated, it was horrific. They crammed 30 people into a room that might have seated 15. They couldn't control the temperature, so they brought in these giant fans to try to keep the room cool. You couldn't hear the instructor. It was a nightmare. Asynchronous is where basically it's not live, so you're watching someone talk to you about something, which I actually like. I teach a lot of classes like that, and it's like somebody would just explain something to me. If I already understand it, I can skip that part and go on, cut to the chase. If I don't understand, I go back and listen to it 4 times. I don't have to make a whole ton of notes because I know I can go back and play through that. I just sort of make pointer notes on those. So like refer back to time 434 on set 50 because that was the part I really didn't get about the subnetting or whatever. And then the other one, of course, is just traditional seated classes, which here's a problem. You got travel, lodging, food, all that kind of stuff you've got to take care of. If you're flying to Miami and you're going to spend a week in Miami, you got to eat. You got to have a rental car maybe. And so it can get really, really expensive fast. We usually budgeted $6,000 for those, just to cover the hotel.
Have you seen these new things now? Well, they're not new. They're newer for me. They're cruises. So you pay anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000, and you go on this 2-week excursion on a cruise ship, and you walk away with a SQL certification or MCS or those types of things.
There.
It's like, that's crazy.
Let's do it. I think, again, if you're out there cruise services and you'd like some people to come on board and be the celebrity part of the cruise or just,
the teachers, something.
Yeah, teacher. That sounds like work. Well, we could be I don't know, we could sit in the bar and entertain people.
Heck yeah, we'll do that.
We'll do hacker movie trivia during your class at night and give away free stuff.
Well, we're better than Yakov Smirnoff. So.
Well, that's true, but what isn't? But do they even still make that alcohol? I'm kidding you. I know who Yakov Smirnoff is.
I know you do, yeah.
In Russia, certification certifies you. Yes. Okay, quickly, we're going to run out of time. Quickly, the cost of each one. CEH is about $100 with just to take the exam. So very, very cheap one. OSCP $750 minimum, $60 for each retake. They do require some kind of training, and the training was seated training was a ballpark of $4,000, which sounds like a lot, but it's not. I mean, so don't get me wrong. That's pretty typical for the industry. Usually budget for yourself about $1,200 a day. That includes the tuition and your lodging and all that kind of stuff. So about $1,200 a day. I went back and I looked at all the jobs. A lot of them just said one or more of these is either required or they desired them. A lot of the positions did not require them. They just said desired, and one of them said highly prized about this. So my last thing then, your strategy for this. So this is, again, back to our cert strategy. What's your testing ability? You better think about it. You're one of those people that says, I'm terrible at tests. I always do horrible in the test. Maybe you stick to those practicals then, because those practicals are going to more test your ability to just solve. Now, if your testing abilities struggle because you have test anxiety, because you can't organize, those things, I don't know that practical is going to help you any at all. So you may just, be, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Get some help. I mean, there are actually testing centers and things that can help you train up to take tests better. Take a boot camp where they focus on those kind of things. Yeah. On the other hand, if you take tests really well, you'll probably do well in these things too. Study habits. I hate to tell you this, but I don't care what you do, you're going to have to study.
It's true.
I go and take these things. Even when I'm retaking stuff I know and I've been doing for years, I have to study so that I will do well on the test. And these things are hard. They're going to hit you with tiny minutia that you don't necessarily know the answer to. Even if it's something you do all the time, they're going to jump on it and they're going to ask you these little minutia questions and you're going to get popped. Practicals don't necessarily do that, but now you got to practice so you can do it quick. You got 24 hours to hack 3 things, and for me anyway, after 12 hours, I'm going to be like, let's keep going. Used to, I could have done the 24 hours, the 48 hours, or whatever. Can you self-study? Do you need a lot of guidance? Are you going to be able to sit at home in your apartment or in your house and actually get something done? Or are you going to be distracted constantly because your kids are playing the floor, your pet monkey's climbing the walls, your internet's going in and out all the time, and there's people jackhammering the road out front? So be sure that you can self-study or that you can asynchronously study. Other strategies for taking these tests. 9tut is a website, if you can live with it. It's basically a site called a brain dump where people take questions off cert tests and dump them on the website. So if you never checked that out, and that's one of those personal calls. Definitely gray space ethics-wise, because people actually dump real questions on there which may or may not be illegal depending on the cert. Well, not illegal, but considered a violation of the ethics clause. Transcenders, awesome. Transcenders have testing banks. They have questions from those certs. I love those things. They cost $200 or $300, but they're usually money well spent. I almost always buy Transcenders for any cert I'm going to take because I can practice with questions from the actual certs and get them. Sometimes 9tut has that kind of stuff too. But you will have to practice. You will have to study. And if you don't, you are going to fail.
And nobody wants to fail.
No. Well, some people do, but
I don't.
But yeah, they're usually drinking heavily or something. I don't know which one of these I would recommend. I like the sound of G-Pen because it's so well known, and SANS is so well known and respected. Obviously, I like it. It's expensive.
Scott suggested as an employer himself, he doesn't actually look at OSCP. He says he doesn't care about the certification so much as how many boxes you can do, without, as a practical thing.
Oh,
so.
Okay.
So that's what he's suggesting. He says there are over 50, which is crazy, amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, but so I mean, the CEH maybe might be good. The G-Pen maybe.
I think if you want to go take a class, I would say go take G-Pen's class from SANS. I mean, that will probably be I'm sorry, other guys, but SANS doesn't sponsor my show, so I don't care. But having taken a lot of SANS classes, I've never taken an EC Council class. I've never taken any of these other classes, so I don't really know. But G-Pen is pretty well known. CEH is probably the most well-known one for me. But like I say, if you like to sit in a dark room and hack things, maybe that OSCP exam is a great place. You might try one of these other ones first just to see if you've kind of got all that stuff. Yep. We will do another show then, I think, about employment is something else people are requesting. And I could go on for another hour about all this and how to get a job and what you need to look at. But we've run out of time today. It was fun. I hope that helped some of you guys. Please feel free to comment. If you have more questions, send them in. We'll answer them later. Thanks for tuning in to SDL today, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.